Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
And I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Oh.
How
hello.
are you?
What's that voice you were doing?
I don't know.
Hello?
That's just my usual voice.
If you sounded like that, I don't think I'd do the podcast with you. I'm going to be really honest, man.
This is how I always sound.
I always sound just like this. No,
Yes.
you don't. You sound like... Well, I'm not going to say that. We're moving on. How have you been?
I've been all right.
Just okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm running on less sleep than normal,
Crazy.
but, you know, what can you do? That's normal for the podcast.
What can you do? You can sleep, Ben. That just gave you an answer to your problem.
Now we have to record the podcast. Technically, Bob has had more sleep than me. He's just been awake much longer.
That's true. Last time I went to bed, I slept for 8 hours.
Yeah,
It's been a long time since that happened. But yeah.
almost 12.
Yes.
Anyways, do you have any news this week?
Yeah. But before we get to news, I want to ask you a question. Because I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Oh, what could you possibly be asking me? I have no idea.
Don't ruin my segue. What's wrong with you? That was a perfectly good... I'm trying to be a good, podcast host and, segue into the topic I want to cover, and you're just like, whoa, shut up.
It was a good segue, even after I did that, until you got mad and broke the segue. Do you just want to tell me?
No, I don't want... Okay. Ben, did you go see a movie in theaters recently?
I did.
What did you go see?
Terrifier 3.
Woo!
Ooh.
Oh, well, that's not good. I was excited.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
wanted to ask you how it was.
okay, do you want the full breakdown?
I mean, the text you sent me was long.
Did you read any of it?
Yeah, I read the whole thing.
Okay, I was like, did you read it or did you crap out because it was long?
It was long, though. It was like a small essay.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing with Terrifier 3. It is a film with definitely a higher budget than Terrifier 2, let alone any of the previous films in that franchise. But I don't think it's a perfect movie.
I mean, sure. I don't think anyone expected you to think it was.
It definitely visually is more impressive and all the sets are better because, again, more money. But I did have some issues. I mean, right off the bat, it's a Christmas movie,
Yeah.
which is not a problem. It's a stylistic thing because it's throughout the film. And it's definitely a unique thing for the Terrifier franchise. But it's a little bit weird, just generally, because Terrifier is at its heart like a not a Christmas movie, a Halloween movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, I mean, that's what it's been all along. Even All Hallows Eve,
Was
I
a
believe
Halloween
is
movie.
the first one, that's a Halloween anthology. So it's weird to not start on that holiday, especially now that there's lore. It feels a little bit weird. With that being said, I think it was overall pretty decent. I can only say I have two major complaints with it.
Okay.
First of all, how do I put this? The film is very obviously setting up a fourth movie.
Sure.
So it was a lot of build-up that didn't feel like it paid off.
Aw, man, that sucks.
Because, it's okay. There's, a good final arc of the film and stuff. But it definitely could have given us a big conclusion, kind of in the way Terrifier 2 did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really... It felt like they were just doing a lot of setup towards the back half of the movie.
Will you still complain and say that if the fourth one pays off that setup well?
If it pays off the setup well, I think that'll make the fourth movie great, better.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to remember is the Terrifier 3 is releasing by itself.
Sure.
Terrifier 4 probably isn't going to come out for 2 years.
But do you think retroactively it will make watching the third one a better experience? Do you think if you watch the third one and then you go watch the fourth one, will it make you feel better about the third one? Or was there too much of it and it makes it basically there's so much that no matter what they do with the fourth one, it won't be worth it?
No, I'd argue that'd make the fourth movie better if you watch the third one. Kind of like watching any film that works well together.
Sure.
So kind of like Halloween 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But since I think the movie doesn't operate perfectly as a standalone film, even if you watch the fourth film and that makes the film make more sense or feel more thematically relevant, that doesn't improve what the film is by itself. But again, not like a major complaint. It was just kind of like a thing I should mention. So it doesn't feel like there was as much of a payoff as the last film. Because the last film, not to get too into spoilers, had a very, very action-packed final act.
Yeah, and it was a definitive ending, too.
And it wasn't just like a conclusion fight. It was like a built-up thing. Like, it functionally structured most of its best kills in the last, 45 minutes, hour. And this film just didn't do that in the same way. And then, my other issue, and this really isn't a big complaint, but I think it's worth mentioning, especially because I went to see it with a couple of my friends, and this was the biggest thing they complained about. But none of the kills, I think, felt as impressive as the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say they were bad, but there was nothing that I felt pushed the boundaries.
Really?
In the way that Terrifier 2 did.
Interesting.
Now, again, that might be because I'm more desensitized than I was for Terrifier 2. But I think it's just because there wasn't anything as brutal and drawn out as some of the Terrifier 2 kills.
Okay.
Most notably, like, the sequence when somebody gets slugged. That's what I'm going to refer to that as. With that being said, I think one of the major reasons for that is because the money for all the kills was spread out more evenly than Terrifier 2.
Okay, I see.
So I think overall the kills in this film looked better and were also like more expensive a lot of times. Like they did certain effects to pull off the kills that they only did once or twice in Terrifier 2 that are very expensive. And so I think that was probably one of the big issues with money. They also might have just ran out at some point, or there might have been some scheduling issues, causing some other kind of minor issues with the film. I don't know. I think coming out of the theater, I enjoyed the movie, but I wasn't blown away.
Okay.
Which kind of sucks, but I thought it was a decent film in the franchise. Not necessarily like bad or anything. It definitely has a better story, I think, than Terrifier 2.
I have been seeing lots of tweets. I follow Damien Leone on Twitter. And I've been seeing him tweet a lot about how people have been like shitting on Terrifier 1 and 2 for not having a ton of like actual story. And he said, I fixed it. He was like, he went on like, there was a whole like thread of him basically being like, yeah, I like intentionally made the third one with a lot more plot points and story beats to make the first two retroactively kind of feel better, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it actually feels like a real storytelling experience this time. But maybe that got in the way of like specific kill sequences and stuff, or just general sequences because they had to cut stuff. And I don't know how much budget played into everything that they could do or don't. I'm honestly wondering if there were some deleted scenes.
Oh, probably.
That we'll get on the disc, like an extended cut, just because it was shorter than last time.
Really?
I think it's only 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Terrifier 2 is like 2.5.
I think Terrifier 2 is 2.5, which I think that was my biggest complaint with Terrifier 2 is they didn't cut it enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would be interested to see if like there's a much longer cut.
Do you think there's like a sweet middle ground for the third one where you think like if they had just gone a little bit longer, it could have been better? Or do you think it was long enough?
I mean, I think I mentioned some of those kills I don't think were like mean or drawn out enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if they maybe extended those sequences, we would have gotten more out of it. There's also a couple characters that kind of just die off screen.
Oh, that sucks.
And it was a little bit odd because it felt like they should have been shown.
On-screen kills.
So I wonder if those got cut for time or because they ran out of money. In either case, not to go on to this for too long, I'd recommend you see it because it's nice to support upcoming horror people.
Yeah.
Especially people who do stuff like more independently, like the Terrifier franchise. But I still say I'd give the film maybe like a 3.5.
Yeah, that's what you text me.
Out of 5. Better than like average, but I wasn't blown away. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You ready to share some news, Bob?
Do I have some fucking news for you, dog? I don't know how excited I actually am about this news, but it would be out of character for me not to talk about George Romero once on the podcast every week.
Have we mentioned Batman?
Well, you just did. There you go.
Oh,
Batman.
wow.
We've talked about this before, but George Romero, he has his original trilogy, and then there's a bunch of movies after that. He wrote a script before he died.
Yeah, the one they're making.
Yeah. So they did this is a huge article with a bunch of announcements on it. The script, the movie is titled Twilight of the Dead. It's being directed by Brad Anderson, who also directed Session 9, The Machinist, and Blood. I've never seen any of those movies. The only thing I know about is in The Machinist, it's Christian Bale, and he's like really like distorted and like he got really skinny.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about these lead actors.
Yeah, so you talked about this before. I think we just had less information.
I don't know if I might have talked about this before.
You did.
Leading the cast is, now I don't know how to, is it Mia or Mila Jovovich from Resident Evil?
Oh, I think it's Mia.
Is it? It's Milla, but I'm pretty sure it's not pronounced Mila. I don't know.
I think it's Mia Jovovich.
Yeah, and I don't know this other person, Betty Gabriel. I don't know who that is.
Not off the top of my head.
Me either. But those are your two main characters. And while I don't love the Resident Evil movies, because a lot of them are bad, I don't think she is a bad actor.
No, not necessarily. I think the big complaint with Resident Evil films is Mia Jovovich is married to the director.
I didn't know that, actually.
That's why, especially after the first film, it becomes kind of less a Resident Evil film and more of a, look how cool Mia Jovovich is.
That's fair.
And that's kind of how a lot of her films with her husband are. I think they might be ex-husbands now. Or her ex-husband now. But it is kind of, one of those things. No, they're still married. Paul S. Anderson. So, not like a huge complaint, but I don't think that'll happen this time.
Hopefully not.
Because she's not a bad actor.
No, I don't think she's a bad actor at all. I think those movies just kind of suck.
They do.
So the original actual screenplay was written by Romero, but Joe Netter, Robert Lucas, and Paulo Zalotti actually took the original screenplay from Romero and worked it up and added a bunch of stuff and made changes and stuff to make it actually, finish it and make it work. The cool thing about this movie is that this one takes place on a tropical island as its location of choice, which I think is fairly interesting considering we got mall, we got farmhouse, and we got military base.
I mean, we got a bit of island in the military base one.
I mean, a little bit, but this feels more like, I'm expecting more something akin to something like Dead Island, where they're on an actual tropical island.
Fair enough.
Which I think will be fun.
I just wouldn't get too excited about it now. Because who knows how it'll turn out.
Well, I'm gonna get to more exciting news about who's working on this movie in a minute. Okay, calm down. According to the director, it is supposed to delve into the dark nature of humanity from the perspectives of the last humans on Earth who are caught between factions of the undead, which seems pretty normal. That seems like a pretty generic line there. I'm just gonna put that out there. Not exciting, but what is cool is veteran makeup designer Greg Nicotero, and of course, his studio, will create and lead the makeup effects, which is cool. I'm glad he's back. He did he started his career with Romero's Day of the Dead. He worked on Walking Dead. He does the Creepshow TV show. Dude, we've met him twice now. He's really good at his job.
Yeah, I mean, he's the obvious choice for zombie effects.
Yeah.
Just because he's gotten to the point with The Walking Dead of being able to do them decently high quality and very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way to transfer. I think that'll transmit well into film.
Yeah. The director also said about this project, he said, "I see this film in the same way as successful post-apocalyptic thrillers such as I Am Legend, A Quiet Place, The Road, and The Last of Us. Genre stories that are as emotional as they are intense. When I first read Twilight of the Dead, I teared up at the end, which is weird for a film of this type, but it has that kind of pull, that combo of horror, and the heartbreak that I love." Now that sounds like a Romero movie to me.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how well a Romero script will transplant without
Romero directing.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of what makes me love Romero films so much is that they feel exactly as he described, as genre stories that are post-apocalyptic in the worst way. Like, they feel so hopeless and everything is so over, but there's just that little bit of humanity that makes you think that maybe there's a chance, but there never is. And that's awesome.
Once again, though, that works because of Romero's directing, because he's basically writing for himself.
Yeah.
So, especially after they've retooled the script and we have a different director, we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out.
That is fair. Also,
we're oversaturated in the zombie market now.
Yeah, so true.
And zombies are very different to Romero zombies, so we'll see how that is, too.
Well, it also helps that, I was about to get to it, but basically the Romero Foundation is working with him to make the film. Like, they're, like, trying to do their best to keep things the way that... Because his ex-wife, or not his ex-wife, his wife when he died, so not his ex-wife.
Yeah.
His wife when he died, is also working with them on the movie and is, like, helping them try to, like, keep it up to his level, basically, and do things the way that she thinks he would have wanted them to do it, which I think is really cool, and I'm excited about it. I really, really want this movie to be good.
Fair enough.
Like, it's just so cool, man. I love those movies. Okay.
Is that it?
That scared the shit out of me. No, sorry. I opened another article to read to get some stuff, and I got jump scared by a Terrifier 3 ad.
It's because you're a baby.
Shut up. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm pretty sure it won Best Soundtrack at the Halloween Horror Awards. Godzilla.
You know what we forgot to put on that category?
What?
Fright Night.
Well, Fright Night has good music.
That's great music.
So I don't know if you knew this, but this Sunday, the original Godzilla turned 70 years old.
Yeah, they're doing a bunch of stuff for it. There's a couple Godzilla museums opening up. There's like a Godzilla lecture happening at like one of the universities in Japan. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's really cool. The other thing they're doing is they're repressing the soundtrack to the original film on like vinyl, and you can buy it. And that's so fucking sweet. It includes an art print insert, a DVD with like a bunch of extra like basically behind the scene footage of like them working on the music and stuff with the original composer. It's really, really cool. And it's only $32. It comes with the vinyl with the soundtrack and the DVD. Pretty cool. It's coming from Waxwork Records, I think is what I was. Yeah. Waxwork Records is putting it out. So if you want to buy it, it's going to be out soon.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big Godzilla fan, I think that's fun.
No, it's really sweet.
Otherwise, if you want to listen to the soundtrack, I'm sure it's like on a streaming platform.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, that's just if you're a Godzilla head, that's a thing you want to own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it.
Anything else? Okay. I'll say one thing before we do the podcast part of the podcast.
Podcast part of the podcast?
I got Trick or Treat, that box set.
Oh, shit.
And Trick or Treat, the 4K video. Now it won't look like garbage.
Now, I want to rewatch that. That movie is so good. Actually, speaking on movies, I'm going to ask you this. Have you rewatched any of Hatchet since you bought the 4K?
Watched the first one.
How was it?
It was good.
So I assume you watched like the uncut version?
Yeah, it only comes with the uncut version.
Did you notice anything different? Like, how much was added?
Not off the top of my head, because I haven't seen Hatchet since the last time we watched it.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
I think it might be one of those things, though, where the first film is fairly similar, and then they get progressively different, because they had more money.
That's fair.
Up until Victor Crowley, which I assume is mostly the same.
Mostly, because that one's...
Because they had a low budget for it.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. I thought I'd ask, because I have yet to have the chance to sit down and rewatch any of the Hatchet movies, and I really want to do it because I own them all now.
Fair enough.
All uncut. Okay. Now we can do the podcast part of the podcast.
Woo!
Well, don't get too excited, Ben. We're doing something you don't want us to do today.
Whoa. What is it?
What do you mean, what is it? You know what it is.
I know.
You know what time it is?
What time is it?
Time for tiny stuff.
Oh.
Tiny little creatures.
Please, Bob.
No.
Please choose the good one. There's one in there that's not amazing, but it's decent, and then there's one in there that is bad.
Well, we'll see how we end up.
Don't choose the bad one.
I'm choosing tiny creatures because we have one movie in each other category left, and I don't want to finish them off just yet. I want to save it so we get one for every episode to the end of the season.
Your usual spiel.
Shut up.
It's true. It's fine. I'm not making fun of you.
No, I'm feeling judged. Yeah, I'm choosing 10 creatures.
Looks like you did spot 1.
So I have what, 2 and 3?
Yeah.
3.
3?
Yeah, Ben, what's in spot number 3? The bad one?
Yeah.
Pog.
Fucking hate you.
You can hate me all you want. This is pure luck. You could have just lied to me and told me it wasn't this one.
I know, but I'm not going to do that. Unfortunately, we are watching a film from 1984
Okay, that's a good year.
entitled Ghoulies.
Ghoulies.
You never heard of Ghoulies?
No, I've never heard of Ghoulies.
Really?
No, this sounds ridiculous.
It's like when people talk about films like Gremlins, this one does come up. Like basically all the time. Not necessarily in a positive light, but it does come up. Now, I think there's a decent chance you'll like this film.
Oh, awesome.
Because you like garbage.
Yeah, I do love garbage.
So we'll see. Anyways, description. What a shitty creature feature.
Oh my god. Okay.
Length, it's 1 hour and 21 minutes long.
It's actually a little short.
Yeah.
You'll make it.
But depending on how much you like it, it's going to feel like the longest movie on the board.
Oh no.
But again, you might like it. It's PG-13.
Oh, what the fuck?
Bob's most feared rating.
It is my most feared rating.
Although I think this is legitimately like PG-13 and not modern PG-13, which scares you.
Now I'm scared.
No, because it's modern PG-13 that scares you, not classic
I'm
PG-13.
I'm still... Look, the Ghoulies might get me, Ben.
Everything gets you. But you're getting better about it. IMDb gave it a 4.2 out of 10.
That's not awful.
A tomato meter score of 7%.
7%?
And an audience score of 20%.
I'm in that 20%. I want this movie to be good. I'm excited.
So you'd be in the 4.2%.
Yeah.
The critics gave it a 7%.
The critics gave it a 7%. That's pretty sweet.
For awards, it has 0 wins and 0 nominations.
Who would have thought?
Notable actors, there's Peter Leopis as Jonathan Graves. He was a pharmacy customer #1 in Wishmaster. That's the horror movie about a genie.
Oh,
Or I guess a djinn. Lisa Pelican as Rebecca. She played Helen in Lionheart. Scott Thompson as Mike. He was Jason Preacher Rowe in Twister. Ralph Seymour as Mark Toadboy, a.k.a. Toadboy. He was Lenny in Rain Man. Mariska Hargitay as Donna. She was most notably for people on this podcast. Myra Akubo in Lake Placid. That's a giant croc film with Betty White.
That's hilarious. No, I know who that is. Law and Order.
She was also in like Baywatch. She was in a bunch of TV shows.
Well, yeah, but I know her from Law and Order.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's who you're talking about.
Keith Joe Dick as Dick. He played the skate tree in Blades of Glory. Have you ever seen Blades of Glory?
No.
It is
Isn't that the Will Ferrell ice skating movie?
Yeah, it has Will Ferrell in a lead role with like a giant straight hair wig on, which is very funny because
that is funny.
That man has curly hair. And then also the guy who plays Napoleon Bonaparte as the other male lead.
What?
It's fun. It's, I want to say super gay, just because it's about like couple skating, and they both decide to do it together, which at that time was like unheard of. But I think it's a decent comedy film. Victoria Caitlin as Anastasia. She played Blackie O'Reilly from Twin Peaks. She was on 7 episodes in 1999. Tamara DeTro as Greedy Gut. She played the Bat Dork in Rockula. Peter Risch as Grizzle. He was actually a character actor, so a voice actor in the original animated The Lord of the Rings from 1978.
Damn.
Michael DeBars as Malcolm Graves. He was William in To Sir with Love. Jack Nance as Wolfgang. He was Henry Spencer in Eraserhead. Bobby Breesy as Temptress. She was Anna in Armed Response. And then finally, one of the Ghoulie voices, because there were a couple voice actors, is played by Craig Talmy. And I think this is his only acting role, but he eventually ended up doing like camera stuff and working with, I believe the company's Rhythm and Hues as a like special effects animator kind of guy.
That's cool.
So he did work on a bunch of stuff because they're a fairly large company, and he's now like an executive animator because he's been with them for a while. But in 2004, he worked on The Chronicles of Riddick, which is the second film in that franchise.
We have to get there at some point.
At some point. Directors Luca Brcovici. He also directed Dark Tide. And the writer is also Luca again. He wrote The Chain. And then the other writer is Jeffrey Levy, who wrote Rockula. Budget estimated at $5.5 million.
That's an okay amount of money in 1984.
Pretty decent. I couldn't find a good box office statistic. Not any that I could trust. I saw 35 million passed around on one site, but it didn't look very reputable. So I'll mention it, but unknown essentially.
I mean,
that's what I'm gonna say.
They made $35 million. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, but I bet it's lower than that.
Probably
because I think a lot of the money came from
like DVD sales,
video
stuff
sales.
like that. Yeah.
It's 84. It would be
sure
VHS, but yeah. Anyways, country of origin is United States. It was also known as Beasties, which was the working title in the U.S.
I don't like Beasties as much as Ghoulies. Ghoulies just sounds just wacky enough. It's the same way that Gremlins sounds wacky.
They're both G words.
Yeah, I guess the letter G does a lot for wackiness.
Does a lot for Bob.
It does a lot.
G words.
Similar to the G spot, but not the same.
You didn't have to take it there, Bob.
Why not?
Because you didn't. Tagline is "They'll get you in the end."
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's not great. As for facts, we got a couple. This is actually the directorial debut of Brcovici, as well as Mariska Hargitay's film debut.
That's cool.
So that's kind of cool. The film was also originally pitched as a single location horror movie, which, if you didn't know, is a money-saving technique.
Oh.
But it was pitched to the film's eventual executive producer, Charles Band.
Oh, shit.
Which I mentioned because we saw him the other day.
Charles Band is very cool. A movie called Ghoulies sounds very much like something Charles Band would want to work on.
Yes. I will say, though, that this was almost a better film than the one we got, because originally Charles Band was planning to direct the film.
That would have been awesome.
Alongside the makeup and effects supervisor, Stan Winston. You not remember who Stan Winston is?
I don't remember who Stan Winston is off the top of my head.
He's super famous for special effects.
Well,
let me list some things you would know that Stan Winston's done. Pumpkinhead.
Oh, shit. Okay.
That might be the only thing you'd know. Did The Wrong Turn.
I haven't seen that, but I've heard it's good.
He did a bunch of famous stuff. I believe he did Jurassic Park, T2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a bunch of really, really, really famous movies.
Yeah. So
this movie was almost incredible.
It could have had more potential than it eventually got. But whatever. Moving on from that. But they eventually changed because Stan Winston dropped off the project and then Charles Band stepped back.
That sucks.
In either way, principal photography for the film began on January 30th, 1984. And it was done at the Waddles Mansion, which served as the film's main location, which was in Los Angeles, California. The film was more interestingly shot at the same time as Gremlins, because they both released in 1984.
Yeah.
And because the films were somewhat similar, Warner Bros. Actually sued the film, production company, to prevent them from using the name Ghoulies. I assume because the sound
G word
kind of similar. Obviously, they lost that case.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have a lot to stand on there because they're completely different.
They're two different words, yeah.
But I assume that contributed to the fact that Charles Band eventually ran out of money halfway through the project.
Oh.
And so, because of that, the film actually released about 7 months after Gremlins.
Damn.
I think there's some, from what I could tell, some implication that it might have come out beforehand. But if they ran out of money and they had to spend like a couple months.
That sucks.
Scrounging of funds. Kind of sucks, but that's it.
Okay. You know, Ben, I'm really excited about Ghoulies.
Let me put it this way, Bubba. I didn't buy this one. We are going to rent it.
Jesus fucking Christ. It's one of those?
Yes.
Okay. We will see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching Ghoulies.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a movie.
One could say that, yes. It is definitely a film.
I think the question I'm really going to ask here, Bob, were you shocked by the 7% critic rating?
No. Honestly, well, I would say 10% maybe is where I would put it if I was a critic.
So you didn't like it?
Okay, so
'Cause
that's not what I'm saying.
You usually enjoy garbage.
That's what I'm saying. I did not like it, but it's definitely not a good movie.
That's the I didn't enjoy myself.
But I didn't. This is so hard to say because, like, I look at a lot of the stuff they did in this movie and I go, oh, that's cool.
It could have been great.
It could have been great. I just don't like what they did with it. You know what I mean?
No, that's exactly how I feel.
There was a point in the movie where I literally was like, oh, is this the point where it gets good? Like, is this the point where things go crazy and it gets really awesome? It didn't happen.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more in a second because I have something I want to say there. But, let's do our usual spiel first. I'll give a brief description, and then I'll get into actually talking about the film and spoiler-terry stuff like that. With that being said, of course, go watch the movie before we discuss anything. That's the way we recommend stuff here on the podcast, because it's better to watch something blind than to have all the spoilers. Especially a movie like this, which was boring.
And nothing happens. So what we do spoil will be very important.
I think you either need to decide right now whether you want to waste your time on Ghoulies.
It's only an hour and 21 minutes, Ben.
Or you want to do something better with your time. Like, watch Killer Condoms. That movie's great.
Well, that movie's like 2 hours long.
Worthwhile 2 hours. Anyways, Ghoulies. What's it about? Well, this guy inherits a house that assumedly belonged to his dad, though he never met him. And finds a bunch of, like, magic ritual books on the bookshelf and stuff. And as he starts reading them, he starts to get obsessed and eventually summons some demons, which for the purpose of this film, we're going to call Ghoulies.
Well, not all the demons are Ghoulies.
Well, no, but like the iconic ones are Ghoulies.
Are Ghoulies, yes.
So if that sounds interesting, I guess check it out. Or don't.
Do what you want.
Do what you want. Anyways, we're going to actually get into spoilers now. Do you have anything you want to start off with?
Yeah, okay, so let's start with my biggest complaint about this film. And I'm so mad about this, by the way. Film was called Ghoulies. There are multiple kinds of Ghoulies in the film.
Which I want to say right now, I think
it's cool.
They're cool.
They're definitely cool.
The puppets used in this film aren't the highest quality puppets ever, especially when we compare them to stuff seen in like Gremlins. Mm-hmm. But for a more low-budget feature than, say, Gremlins, they're fairly expressive. Mm-hmm. Like, they can move their lips and stuff, and their mouths move. Not that they're amazing, but they were better than I expected, and I think all the designs are cool because, like, there's different types of Ghoulies, and each one has its own unique design. And they all do different stuff. Yeah. That is cool. So, for a film called Ghoulies, with a bunch of very types of Ghoulies, this episode might be called Ghoulies or something, because we said that word about 45 times. The Ghoulies don't fucking do anything. They're so giga useless. Yeah. So I think that came down to a couple things, but I think the biggest one is just like budget stuff. It's hard to have a puppet do something very visually. It takes more time. It takes more money. You need a more like well-designed puppet. And I think most of these puppets were like hand puppet kind of stuff. Yeah. So they could really only have them static and then behind something, so you didn't see the hand in them. And that was very limiting because, they weren't using animatronics or stop motion like that. Yeah. And so, like you said, makes the puppets not able to do a lot. And then I think the real issue is they're was no additional techniques to make the puppets feel like they could do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even like an off-screen kill or something like that wasn't really used effectively in the film.
No, and that's my problem. If you're gonna make a movie called Ghoulies that features the Ghoulies very prominently, like they're in a lot of scenes, just in the background, not doing anything.
But they don't matter.
You
Yeah.
could have called this movie literally anything else, and I would have a lot less problems with it.
Honestly, that's a problem that reminds me of a lot of these kind of small creature feature kind of films.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, a film that I think has a similar problem is the original Puppet Masters movie.
Really?
It's better than this. Definitely better than this. But when you go into the Puppet Master franchise, you expect a lot of puppet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's much less than I think you necessarily want in that first movie.
Mm.
There's still more than this movie. Don't get me wrong. Puppet Master's much better. But I think it's kind of that issue with the first movies in the franchise where they're trying to establish something.
Yeah.
And so they feature like the iconic thing less because it's more expensive and they haven't confirmed yet if that's like what people are coming into the theater for. But yeah, I think you're right that that's probably the biggest complaint with this movie because like that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I just want to see ghouly nonsense in the same way that Gremlins has
Gremlin nonsense.
Gremlin nonsense.
That's exactly my problem. That's my huge thing that makes this movie very, very boring. That and the fact that 90% of this film has, like I was saying, the Ghoulies are in it a lot, but nothing to do with the Ghoulies. The Ghoulies are background, like, fodder that look cool. 90% of this movie is about the main character, Jonathan, doing black magic that has nothing to do with the Ghoulies.
Yeah, he's just summoning stuff, like doing progressively more complex rituals, I guess. And the rituals do summon the Ghoulies.
Yes.
So there is some related progression. But it is really just an exploration into this character, I guess, losing himself to black magic.
Yeah.
Which, in theory, is interesting.
Could be cool.
But nothing happens in this film.
But nothing happens, and there's no groundwork laid for us to care about him, like, losing things. Like, there's this whole plot where, like, his girlfriend, Rebecca, is trying to, like, leave him because she doesn't like all these rituals and stuff. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Give me Ghoulies.
Yeah, to be honest, this film feels like it could have been a very different film, like in the initial draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Ghoulies were added after.
Maybe.
As kind of like oh, this movie Gremlins is coming out. Maybe we should do something similar.
I don't know. I just there's so much like space for cool stuff to happen and occur. Like honestly, if the Ghoulies actually like kill people, it would be really cool and did cool stuff. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and again, I think it's also one of those things where you have to remember. Originally, it was supposed to have like Stan Winston doing effects.
Yeah.
And then once they lost him, I think that might have changed what they were able to do. Same thing with Charles Band directing, and this is a first-time director. It feels like a very lackluster film with Ghoulies added on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of boring. I think that's my biggest complaint.
It's boring. Nothing happens.
There's just a lot of filler scenes, like
Mm-hmm.
long sequences of the main character doing a ritual chant that's just super overextended. Like, I think if you cut everything down to a reasonable length, this movie would only be like 30, 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
Maybe. Which sucks.
It does suck. Another thing I'm just going to keep complaining.
That's fair.
Like, this movie is very boring. The characters, even like the main characters, none of them are very well developed in any way. They're all very surface level, sort of nothing characters. I think probably the best two characters in the movie are two just like drunks who like are constantly trying to get high and do dumb shit.
Oh my god, one of them
because I think they're funny.
One of them does a spin on his head at one point.
Yeah.
And just like doobies and pills fall out of his pockets.
It's hilarious. But like when those two types of characters are like the highlight of your characters in a movie, probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dick, but I don't like Dick. Dick's just funny.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of like one-dimensional characters that for whatever reason don't get screen time in an effective way, and it makes them boring.
Yeah. But they use them as fodder for like getting killed later. And like I don't care that they're dying, and they're not dying in cool, interesting ways.
Yeah, none of the deaths are super impressive because most of the deaths involve ghoulies, and since the ghoulies can't do a lot,
yeah.
it's usually like, I threw a ghoulie at this person and now
And they
they're dead.
died.
Or my favorite kill in the whole movie because it's so bad is someone falls down the stairs.
I think it's in the outtakes.
Like three steps.
And
Papa's like, if they die, I'm gonna lose my shit.
and then it's like, she's dead. I'm like, no! It's insane. Like, I don't know. There's just the idea of like child inherits like a house full of black magic.
And we say child. I don't know how old he is.
Well, okay.
It feels like he's supposed to be 18 to 20 because he's still in college.
It looks like he's about 45.
He looks like 30, 45.
Yeah. But
So-
like the setup is good in my opinion. Like the idea that like, because that's such a classic thing of like inherit some like mystery house with like black magic and stuff, and then like watching him slowly descend and like watching his relationship fall apart with his girlfriend. All of those sound like great ideas in theory, but they're poorly executed. And then they threw ghoulies on top of it, so it's nonsense.
Yeah, it is distinctly like two different plots,
Yeah.
but both of them are done poorly, I'm
Yeah.
going to say. And it just creates a lackluster movie.
And also, you know, he does like rituals to summon the ghoulies. So like there's magic. They don't explain this magic at all.
They feel like nonsense.
It is absolute nonsense what these powers can do and what they can't do.
There's no like...
There's no power scaling. There's no like explanation.
Yeah, I think if it had
There
a
are no
simple
rules at all.
explanation of what he was doing first before we got to see it, it would make things feel better.
Oh, and the cold open also kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because it sets up like a lot that it doesn't do anything with. I don't know. I have a lot of issues with this movie, but here are my highlights. Okay, a quick list of things I
I'm
actually
glad
like.
you had highlights.
The ghoulies look cool.
They do. They're not like amazing.
No, but they're cool.
But it's nice that they went to the
lengths that they
lengths
did.
of like making unique ones.
That's what I was about to say. There are unique ghoulies that seem to have different purposes and do different things and live in different kinds of environments and are like seen in different places. I like that. There is a sick wizard fight at the end.
Do not describe that as sick.
No, hold on. Because it was when the wizard man teleported behind the other wizard man, I thought the movie was going to get good for a second.
But it didn't.
But it didn't.
They
It
just
sucked.
hugged each other.
This is why I'm talking about with the magic. The magic needs to work, guys. Fix that. The magic system in this fucking movie is busted and it's stupid. But that's what I want. Like when you build up this entire film with like dark magics and like then like a guy who we've barely seen in the film, by the way, comes out of nowhere and starts casting spells. Like, I don't know. Ghoulies look cool. The kills are shitty, but the effects post-kill are okay. I'll give it that. I think some of the kills, because of course we see the ghoulies kill them or whatever, because you know there's the ghoulie on the face, and then you get to see their face after. It looks fucked up. It's okay. It's not great. I don't know. Here's the thing. I want to like this movie a lot more than I did, and I'm trying really hard, but it's really boring.
Yeah. My only positive, I really liked Greedy Gut and Grizzle.
Oh, we haven't talked about them. The
Who
other
are,
two
like,
demons.
I don't even know if they're demons,
I think they're demons.
but they're just, I don't know, two like little people
yeah.
that the main character summons, and they're just fun to watch.
They're cool.
They
I
don't-
actually like them.
They don't have a lot of character development.
No, but they have a lot more character than some of the other
They're
people in
just
the film.
more interesting than everyone else.
Well, because they feel like they have like motivation. They feel like they're actually doing stuff. You know what I mean? And also, they bounce off each other really well, and they're funny.
Yeah, so that was my highlight.
Oh, the set's cool.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a cool looking like old mansion place. I like it. I think it's cool.
But again, it's not like mind-blowing.
No, it's fine. I don't see how this movie got a sequel. I don't know who saw.
I think there's like 5 movies in the franchise. And I have to wonder, because I haven't seen them. I think I saw this movie like a long time ago. Didn't remember much of it. But I definitely haven't seen any of the sequels. And, you know, part of the reason they got sequels is brand recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the big poster for this film is a ghoulie coming out of a toilet. Hence my description. And, like, a bunch of the subsequent films I know use that same imagery. Because because it's like iconic, I guess, even though it's half a second of the movie. But I have to wonder if the follow-up movies are more enjoyable, like ironically, because they boost up the ghoulie time.
Yeah, maybe. That would make sense.
Because I can see this movie being like so bad it's good if it had a bunch of ghoulie stuff in it.
That's what I wanted. I want it to be so bad it's good, but it's too nonsense. Well, actually, no. It
Too
takes
nothing.
its tale too seriously for it to be nonsense. That's the problem. It's like all these characters are treating this like such a serious and real situation when I don't want them to. I just want them to be like wacky and zany and get murdered by ghoulies. And that doesn't really happen, and that makes me sad. Okay. I
Recommendations?
No. I'm not there yet. I think
Bob needs to keep bitching.
I need to. Okay. We haven't talked about it. The main plot of this movie.
Plot?
Yeah, plot is that Jonathan is like conducting rituals to gain knowledge and power. He gets tricked by the two little people, the two demons, Grizzle and what is it?
Greedy Gut,
and actually performs a ritual to bring his dead dad back to life. Comes out of nowhere. First of all, I hate it. I think it's so dumb because then it flips the plot on its head, and it's like, oh yeah, Jonathan's actually the good guy, and his dad's an evil sorcerer trying to do things again. Jonathan sucks. Jonathan is a no good, evil, bad person who's been summoning demons for days.
Well, the implication is he wasn't in control of his actions.
Why not?
But it is a weird flip.
Why isn't he in control? He has control.
No, there's an implication that like the dad and if not some demons are like purposely like messing with him to get him to do what they want. But again, it's such a minor thing that it's like if you don't pay attention, you miss it.
He just sucks. Like he just is an awful individual. He has no redeeming qualities. And also, he doesn't even do anything to defeat the evil sorcerer man.
It's just another dude.
The groundskeeper does. Who's been in about 40 seconds of the whole film, but keeps giving voiceover dialogue.
He's our narrator.
He's narrating. And also, he knows magic. And gets in a wizard battle with his evil dead dad. And it was almost cool. It was just close to being cool. Then they just started hugging each other and lightning each other's faces. I don't know. I'm so irate about how much I didn't
enjoy yourself.
I don't want to say I didn't enjoy myself because like I like a lot of the ideas, but the execution is awful.
I think that means you didn't enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And I'm mad because I wanted to like it.
No, that's fair. I knew we were going to have a bad time, but I was like, maybe there's a chance. But I'm glad we covered it. It is like pretty famous for small creatures.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the like ghoulie props at the convention.
I didn't notice any of them.
They had a bunch of ghoulies in toilets.
That's ridiculous. Truly preposterous.
Anyways, recommendations now? Since we spoiled the ending?
I don't know.
Because I don't even have like much to bitch about. It was just a nothing movie.
I'm fuming because
You're enraged.
I wanted it to be good.
Yeah, maybe the second one is.
Recommendations. I mean, if the idea of the film we've described interests you in any way, at least watch it. I don't think it's like, honestly, I think it would be a lot more fun if I wasn't A, super exhausted, or B, if you just watch this like drunk with your friends, it could be a much better time.
I don't know. Like
really?
Nothing happens.
I don't know.
Honestly, my only recommendation for this film is like, if you want to watch the Ghoulies franchise, because I know it's big, this is the first movie.
That's fair.
I don't know if it's the best or the worst or whatever, but it is iconic, and I think for that reason alone, it's worth watching. Like, that's why we put it on the board this season.
Don't say we. You did this.
I did. Part of that's because, like, most of the small creatures are not creatures. They're, like, other things. Or a creature, a single one.
That's fair.
Anything else, or
no
rating?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right, you get to rate it first.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
And your day's ruined?
And my day has been ruined.
Technically, your day's still Friday.
So true. No, this one makes me so mad because I don't want to be mad at it because I want to like it. Like I'm trying so hard to like redeem this movie in my mind, but I can't.
No.
And that fucking sucks.
Like, the redeeming qualities that are there aren't enough to save the movie.
No. They're not worth it. 1.5.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm also going to give it a 1.5.
It's so boring.
I was really close to a 1 because, like, the worst sin a movie can do is just be a nothing movie that isn't entertaining at all. And that's what this movie felt like to me.
Yeah.
However, I am going to go with a 1.5 because I think there was a couple things that were decent.
The ideas are there.
Because the ideas are there. And the ghoulie designs are not amazing, but they're cool. And so, like, I think there was some silver lining. So I'll give it a 1.5.
That's the worst score we've ever given a film.
I think we've given a film a 1.
Nope. No.
Are you sure?
The lowest we've ever gone is 2.
What about Thanksgiving?
Oh, you might have given that a 1.
Yeah.
Never mind, I lied. You might have gotten some out of the episode you gave it a 1.
I don't think we've gone lower than a 1, but I think I've done a 1.
Yeah. I hate this episode so far. Mostly because I don't like being mean to movies. It makes me sad.
No, I don't. I usually like to see the best in a film for this podcast, but like I said,
sometimes you just can't see anything.
If it's a nothing film,
it's a nothing film.
Not much we can do.
Yeah. With a movie like this, it's just so tough, dude. Man.
It happens.
Yeah.
Whatever. I guess you want to go to outtakes?
There's like going to be 2 in there.
We marked 2.
We marked 2. One of them is usable for sure.
I don't know if we'll save 2, but...
Well, one of them is me yelling about the lady falling down the stairs, which is hilarious.
I guess we'll be back in a second.
Yeah, we'll be back in a second. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Nothing new, but I'm going to go over the kind of the same stuff we have on the back burner right now. For the rest of the year, we have a couple holiday films coming up. We have my birthday.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
Christmas.
Oh.
New Year's.
Real shit?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's probably all we're going to do for like the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what we end up doing next year. Probably old reliables, at least. Definitely St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's.
I feel like there are enough Valentine's Day themed horror movies for us to watch one of those.
No, those
for a
are
long
both
time.
Pretty decent. And then, of course, when it's Earth Day, maybe the Unholy Trinity will come out.
Ben, I'm telling you right now, I don't think it's ever going to come out.
It's kind of a funny meme at this point. But aside from that, we've also decided what series we're covering on the podcast first for like completionist stuff. And we're starting with Evil Dead. So, got Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, and Evil Dead Rise to come out. We're going to record those first before we release any of them. But I think it might come out in January if we keep up with stuff.
Yeah, if we keep it pace with how we record, we might be able to get through a couple series next year.
Yeah, which will be really nice because I've been excited to do that.
Yeah, me too.
There's a couple films where it's like, we only watched the first one, but like the second and the third one are great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, usual spiel. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast streaming specific sites. If you're checking us out on any of those, please give us a quick rating or review. That really helps us get seen by other people on those platforms. Otherwise, you can also watch the podcast on YouTube, which not the best for audio-only content. Is pretty nice for helping us out because we can see all your likes and subscriptions, and that's the best way for us to gauge like how many of you guys are liking what we do, because our RSS feed is kind of hard to read.
Extremely hard to read.
As it only does downloads and not like actual views. With that being said, YouTube does have a couple cool tools you might be interested in. There is a bell button, which lets you get notified whenever we post something new, in case you want to keep up with like our content when it's coming out, especially for like holiday stuff, because we don't always do a good job of announcing that. Otherwise, there's a search button, which lets you search key terms in all our episodes. So if you're looking for a specific movie to see if we've covered it, that's the best way to do that. Otherwise, the biggest thing with YouTube is it's one of the main 2 places to communicate with us at. You could do that in the comment section of a specific video if you want to talk to us about something there. Or you can go over to Twitter, @AwwareTheBoard, and go chant Latin at Bob.
Don't do that.
Maybe get him to come out of a toilet.
I want you to know, I held my tongue. I almost said something heinous, but it has to do with what you were making jokes about the entire movie. I'm just putting it out there.
I don't even remember what that was.
Okay, moving on because I'm not saying it on the podcast. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at BewareTheBoard. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything new about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal, so you can watch the film before we do. So when we release the episodes, you don't get any spoilers when we're being vague about stuff, you know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays or whatever other day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode on our Twitter whenever it goes up. So if you miss an upload or want to know someone up, there's always a link there. Last thing, we make short form content for the show sometimes over on TikTok at BewareTheBoard and on YouTube Shorts. So if you like short form content and want to support the show, check us out over there at BewareTheBoard on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts.
I don't think there's anything new yet.
No.
Can I continue the shaming saga?
Shame.
Bob, did you post those memes I made for Killer Condom?
Oh, shit, dog.
Even though on the last episode you said, I'm going to post them before this episode comes out? Maybe they'll be up for this episode.
I told you last time. You have the login info.
I don't remember it.
I messaged you
Also,
it.
Bob, you could just do it literally right after we finish recording.
I'm going home.
You can still do it right after we finish recording. It takes you like 10
I'm not
seconds.
do it while I'm driving. That's fucked up, Ben.
No,
That's
in my
dangerous.
house.
Well, I'm not going to be at your house for long.
Just please post it this week. Please.
I'll try not to forget.
Bob's going to forget. Anyways, that's all we got.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.